you, even for us, those that are log on and continue to log on, that are following, I think it's prudent for me to just share with you my side of the story in short of the accusations that have been going on around. As we have said that we're not going to be going publicly on YouTube to rebut or to defend ourselves, but I just think it's prudent for even those that are logged on from time to time, sometimes you hear stuff out there and you're not sure, because that's how the mind works. Because I haven't said anything, but I think it's prudent. I've been thinking about it in the week, that at least for you to hear from me, my side, because we're not striving to do anything in secret and in trickery. If you're going to be working with someone, you want to have confidence in them. From time to time, you might talk with people and they might say things and tell you some of the accusations that are out there. And if you don't hear and know for yourself from my mouth, then you might be left hanging. And we want our people to be sure of what is what. So, maybe in short, a couple minutes before, I just want to just give you a rundown quickly. Now, in December sometime, 14, 15 around there, the pastor came to Jamaica. He said he wanted to have a meeting with the members, want to have a members meeting, business meeting, members. But before that, I think what inspired that meeting, if I can use that word, was what caused that meeting to be had, I believe, when Brother Minister Wint was so-called disfellowshipped. That Saturday night, it was so heart-rending to see what was happening. And after the pastor did what he did and finished speaking, I sent him an email immediately to say how disappointed I was with the way things were handled, knowing that I had a situation, a YouTube moment I call it, when I was rebuked for preaching about the Holy Ghost that way. And we had a ministers' meeting in the States. Some of the elders, well, maybe one elder I know, he expressed his disappointment also in the way that I was treated. And in the same meeting, I got up and stood for myself and let the pastor know that, listen, I am the one who went through it. I know how it felt. And what I did, I preached on Zoom, but you went on YouTube to rebuke. That was not good. And I said to him, if you say we are family or you have your family, if something happened at your home, you are not going to come to church and tell the whole church what happened to with your children at home. So likewise, if we have something going on like that, you shouldn't just go out and publish it. So I thought we had an understanding at that meeting because it was a minister's meeting. So when I saw what happened to Minister Wint, I was really heartbroken. So I sent him the email to say, I was not pleased. We had this discussion already, and I suffered something similar. I said we should have meetings with the elder when you come on with these things. Have meeting with the elders, and deal with things in-house, and then let the people know little or just what they're supposed to know, rather than putting everything in the public. So that was a Saturday night. I was so broken in the morning, Sunday morning, I didn't feel like preaching to the Caribbean. I told my wife that I was not going to preach. And she was saying, the people are there broken and they want encouragement. How you mean they're not going to preach? I said, listen, I cannot go on the pulpit. I know me. So, Mandeville Temple does Zoom from time to time, so it clicked. And I said, listen, good. I can let Mandeville do the Zoom, and then I just speak to the congregation here, right here. So, I did that. So, in my opening, I said to the people that were here, I said, last night was very, it was not nice based on what happened. And I am disappointed in how it was handled, as I sent an email to Pastor about the same thing, how he handled the situation and all that. And I was explaining to them that if you have issues at your home, even with husband and wife, they shouldn't let even the children hear all of that stuff. And I encourage them not to go on YouTube to talk about it, because it's a minister thing. Just leave it. And at that time I said, boy, based on what is happening, I have the decisions to make, so pray for me. So somebody, a brother, taped that for whatever reason. He taped it and sent it to Minister Baker. Nobody spoke to me about it. He taped it and he sent it to Mr. Baker. 2 days after, I think Minister Baker called me and was asking me, what happened? What I heard you did? I said, what? He was talking about you go and preach and talk about this and that. I said, brother, I shut the Zoom down. I didn't preach on Zoom because I didn't want the Caribbean to be involved if I say anything. I didn't want to vent, so to speak. And I just speak to the people right here. So what's the big deal? He said, you shouldn't do that and all that, whatever. So I got really irate, and I told him, listen, brother, don't call me, And I went on to say, listen, I'm going to leave you all church and, just leave you all. So I guess he went to Pastor and talked to him about that. That was the Wednesday, I think. And, when I analyze and look how I spoke to him, because I spoke to him real strong, that Minister Baker. So I called him the Friday of the same week, and I said, listen, man, the way I spoke to you, I am sorry, because I was just fed up with everything that's happening and all of that, and so I'm sorry the way I spoke to you and all of that. He said, yeah, I understand, because, everybody have the moment and all of that. So that's that. So by that time, though, I think he would have spoken to Pastor, whatever he told him and all of that. So after that, I heard now that a meeting is being planned, and, I saw people move in certain ways, all type of thing going on around me and all of that. Brothers posting stuff in the group, seeming to be bashing me and all of that brotherhood. I'm like, what's going on? So they said the meeting is planned. Pastor coming for a business meeting, and that's Sunday. And he want to have a minister's meeting that Saturday. So maybe 2 days before his arrival, Minister Baker told me that Pastor want to meet with some brothers from the brotherhood in the minister's meeting. And he himself was saying, why you want to do that? I said, listen, he planned the meeting. He said, want them in there. That's it. Because I'm not involved. That's it. So they had the meeting on Saturday. Brothers were bringing up all type of different accusations about things that I've preached for a year and a half, whenever. That has been dealt with. And everything that they said, I used scripture to verify what I preach. And Pastor Jennings agreed with my explanation of the scriptures. They brought up the thing about why did I talk to the people about how I felt about what Pastor did with Minister Wind. I said, listen, I'm human and I felt broken. I wasn't bashing him. I sent an email to him and I was just expressing to the people how I felt, and that wasn't right. So he said, well, I shouldn't say, dear assessor, I am human. I have emotion and feelings, and I've seen you go on the pulpit with your emotion as well. So we talk about that, and I think we were done with that. So back and forth in the meeting, dealing with other stuff. No. When I speak very forthright and firm, and everybody know that, because when we have ministers meeting overseas, I speak like that. So, I was speaking like that in the meeting when I'm speaking to Pastor. Now, the brothers never see me speak like this before. So one brother get up and say, boy, I think your brother Gary, the way you're talking to Pastor, you're disrespecting him. So I stopped right there and I said, sir, am I disrespecting you? He said, yes. No, I said, have I ever disrespected you? He said, yeah. I said, sir, you have never told me that I've disrespected you ever. And I've spoken to you like this in minister's meeting and you have never cautioned me. But I kind of know what the plan was. That aside, it continued. Then he said, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop you from Zoom. I'm going to stop you from traveling in the Caribbean and preaching and all of that. And you come and talk to me in Philadelphia the second week in January. Right? I don't know what's happening. So I just okay. I said, all right, fine. So that meeting was finished. We left there. He said, sitting me down. I must give myself over to fasting and prayer. I said, all right, whatever, I don't know what's going on. The Sunday, when he was supposed to have the meeting with the saints, the Sunday morning, Brother Baker called me and said, Pastor says, if I want to tell the people that I'm sitting down, or he should do it. I said, brother, I didn't agree to sit down. He sat me down. So what am I going to tell the people? So he told Pastor that I said he must do it. So he came out and he told the people, well, Brother Gary is relieved from duties. For now, he give himself over to fasting and prayer, hand over everything to Brother Baker. He won't be traveling to Caribbean, won't be preaching on Zoom and all of that. I sit down calm, no problem. In his preaching, he was kind of referring to me in certain things. He want me to be saved. He was talking about binding the power that he have an apostle and he will bind this and bind that. So it sounded as if, he was doing some binding. So he said, no, I'm not talking about him. I want this man to be saved. But in his preaching, he says, he was preaching and he pulled the scripture, rejoice not my enemy, when I fall, I shall arise, and all of that. So after the meeting, because he said to the people, I should give myself over to fasting and prayer, people were calling me after the meeting and saying, Brother Gary, we're praying for you. I don't know what your fall is, but you will rise and all of that. So people have the impression that I've committed some sin, and because he said to give myself over to fast and prayer, and because he used that statement, rejoice not my enemy, when I fall, I shall arise. And in my mind, I'm saying, why is Pastor doing this? He's giving the people impression that I've done some sin and some stuff. So when he said he's going to send a letter through the Caribbean to let the people know that I'm relieved. So when he went overseas, a brother called me and said, hey, the letter is being circulated in the U.S. to be read in the temples in the U.S. So I'm saying, how is it that a letter is being circulated in U.S. and I'm overseeing the Caribbean? And he said it was for Caribbean. So when I got the letter, I saw the letter said that I am suspended from all duties and must give myself over to fasting and prayer, and I must not do transact any business on behalf of the church in Jamaica or the Caribbean. So I'm like, what is this? Because I don't even know why I'm sitting out, and now you're saying I'm suspended and I must not do any business for the church in Caribbean or Jamaica and not give myself over to fast and prayer, and you allude like I have fallen in some sin or something. So I called him and I said, sir, this letter that you are sending out to the people, what is this? You're making it seem as if I am a thief because I can't do any business in the Caribbean or Jamaica, and I am suspended. I said, what? I said to him, sir, if you're going to send that letter to the people, you're going to have to explain to them what I have done, because up to that point, I really didn't know what I did. So I said, if you're going to send that letter to the people, you're going to have to explain to them what I've done. He changed the letter. He changed the letter and sent another letter to say, no, I am relieved, not suspended again. Well, he said, oh, is my secretary write it? And I said, but your secretary cannot write what you didn't tell them. How could he do that? So he changed the letter and put, I am relieved, and give myself over to fasting and prayer, and took out the part about no business in the Caribbean or Jamaica. So when, at that time, that was the time that I said to him, I will not accept this. Yes, I did say to him, the way you put it out, give myself over to fasting and prayer, and you use that scripture, rejoice not my enemy when I fall, you make it seem as if I committed some sin. And all of these things, they put in the letter. I said, sir, I will not accept this. So now, that's when he went out to tell people that I say I'm not accepting fasting and prayer. That's not the case. That is not the case, right? I'm not accepting the tone of the letter and how we make it to seem I have fallen in something. And I said, when you put it like that, it sounds like for somebody who fallen and need restoration. I did not tell him that I am not accepting fasting and prayer. So we're supposed to meet the second week of January. Now, I talked to some brothers, I talked to my wife. I said, you know what? I'm just taking it easy. I'm going to meet with him and hear what is what and whatever. After that, well, Brother Gray went to the convocation end of year. I didn't go because I had my farming doing. So the brother went to the convocation, he had a letter to be signed. Now this letter, Brother Gray was going through some stuff. Minister Gray. Going through some stuff. He changed job ever so often. He drive taxi and all of that. His wife had a young baby and all of that. So the brother came to me and said, brother, it's hard to work with these people. Right now, nothing happening for me. What can you do? Can the church do? Can the church buy me a vehicle and I pay back the church? I said, brother, I can't do that. We don't do that type of transaction. I mean, I help people with small loans and all of that. I said, we don't do that type of transaction to buy a vehicle for somebody. But looking at the brother's situation, I'm saying, oh my God. Then I thought about it. I said, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy a vehicle in the name of the church, for the church own it, but you drive it for the church like you drive for a taxi man, right? And then you pay the church monthly. Now I told him, and I must say this, I told him, I'm not going to let Pastor know this. I can't tell Pastor this. I'm doing this for you. Because I feel like if I say it to him, it won't happen. I want to help the brother, so I'm saying this is between you and I. The vehicle is going to be in the church name. You're driving it for the church. I don't even want the members to know, so they come and bombard you all the time and then come to me for stuff and all of that. I said, when convocation comes, you will use the vehicle, pick up pastor, or do the convocation work, you know, but don't let anybody know that it belongs to the church. I said, listen, I am going to tell Minister Baker because I don't want me alone to know. I'm going to tell Minister Baker, which I did. I told Baker that, listen, I purchased a vehicle, the church own it for Brother Gray. Because I have a power of attorney that I got, that I can do business for the church as long as the thing is in the church name and all of that. There was no restrictions to it. As Pastor Jennings was saying, he gave me that power, but he said, if I'm doing anything, I don't do anything without he knowing. He did not say that. I have been doing this uninterrupted for years. Nobody say anything to me. So, the brother worked the vehicle for a while, pay back the church, every month pay the church. Then he said, boy, can he just own the vehicle and the money he's paying to the church monthly, that will go to the payment for the vehicle. I say, all right, no problem. After a while, he said, boy, the vehicle giving problem, all type of front end and problems, so he want to sell the vehicle. Now, because the vehicle is, well, it was in his name, but a lien is on it for the church. It had to be in his name because of the insurance and the license for it, so no problem. So a lien was placed on it that he could not sell it. The church had a lien on it. Couldn't sell unless the church signed. So now we want to sell. In the Jamaica tax system, the persons who are authorized in the Jamaica tax department system to sign on behalf of the church is Deacon Jennings and Brother Dan. Because of a letter that they sent to us for me to do a transaction years ago, and the tax department take that letter with the signature and put those signatures in the system as the authorizing signatures, which we didn't give them permission, but they just took the letter and put it in there. So anything that I do with the tax office here, they have to sign off on it. So I say, okay, Brother Dan or Deacon Jennings have to sign this letter for them to release the lien. When he went to convocation, I said, I'll talk to Brother Dan and let him know. Went to Brother Dan didn't know anything about it prior, because now I tell him, this is for this purpose, da. So I told him, I said, Brother Dan is going to take it to Pastor, because Dan is not signing anything for the church without Pastor seat. I said, no problem. So they went to Pastor, they have this discussion. Pastor called me. What is this? I don't know about this. I said, well, it is a vehicle that I purchased to help the brother because he was going through some stuff. He said, but you didn't tell me about it. I said, yeah, well, sorry about that, but I was helping out the brother and the vehicle is in the church name anyway, so we just want to sign to release the lien for him to sell it and the church get back the money. When the brother came out of the meeting, I sent him a text and I said, no, you give Pastor something to say about me. Because remember, I have been sitting down now, right? I've been sitting now. So now I said to the brother, no, you give him something to say about me now or to come at me now. Because I remember the situation with Minister Wint, when Minister Wint was kicked out, and after that they went to dig up stuff to pin on him. So I'm saying, my God, this is it. So shortly after that, couple days, I got a letter from Pastor Jennings saying that based on a meeting that they had, construction meeting, he heard that I purchased properties he is unaware of and all that type of stuff. And also I overstepped my authority who give me permission to buy a vehicle and give pay mortgage and rent for the people and all of that. And this amounts to misappropriation of funds. So I call him, I say, sir, do you know what misappropriation of funds is? This is when you take money and use it for the purpose for what it was not intended. I said, whatever I did is for the church. Vehicle is in the church name. The people who I gave rent, I assist with rent and all of that. That's church business. I said, sir, I've been doing this for how many years and you didn't say anything? I assist the people with their rent and light bill and whatever as the need arise. He said, you should get permission. You should call the secretary or call me. And now at this time, I said, Pastor Jenny, listen here. People call me 2, 3, 4 times a day for assistance. I've been doing this for years as overseer for Jamaica and the Caribbean. You're telling me, and I use this example. I said, you're telling me that if I give somebody $5,000 to assist their light bill. Now $5,000 here, maybe about $25 or so, $30, maybe. I say, if I give somebody $5,000 to assist with their light bill, I have to call you for that? And you're busy and I have to call you? He said, yes, you should call me or the secretary. I said, that is the time I said, sir, that's ridiculous. Now, he used that ridiculous now to say when he asked me about how I purchased property and all of that, whatever, I said, that's ridiculous for me to call you up. And that's a lie. So from then I realized that no, because the text that I sent him, I said, sir, why are you trying to pin things on me? Why are you trying to pin things on me? You know, because I realized where this was going. So when I saw what was happening, I told my wife and I decided, I said, you know what? Because people were saying, I was sitting down and say, listen, whatever plan you have, if you want to kick me out, I'm going to ride it out. People were praying and said, Brother Gary, you're going to come back up, and when you come up, you're going to be more stronger. And I said, all right. But I said, I'm going to ride it out. If you want to kick me out, fine. But when I saw what was happening, I said, no, man, no. So I decided that, listen, I can't handle this type of situation. All these trickery and lies and all of that and whatever. So I wrote him a letter and I told him that, hey, you know, over the years, I appreciate you preaching and I preaching build me up and all of that. However, there are certain things that I've experienced, maneuvering, you twist scriptures and many untruths that I cannot, with a good conscience, continue under your leadership and all of that. So I basically tell him that I'm leaving and he must come to Jamaica and I will hand over the things, whatever I'm in charge of. And at the bottom of that letter that you heard him read, that I said 1.5 years ago, the Lord moved me to tell you that he's not pleased with the way you're handling his church, and if you don't amend your ways, he's going to take his church from you. Simply mean you are in charge of the church as overseer, general overseer, so he will take you out of that post. He understand that. Anybody understand that? But he went to say that God didn't give him church, and God, how he's going to take it. So I blaspheme. Ridiculous. So he spoke about that part of the letter, but he did not tell the people that I sent in the letter that I'm leaving. Up to this day, he has not told the people that I decide that I'm leaving. But he tried to make it seem as if he's kicking me out because I overstep authority, I buy property that he didn't know about and all that. Now let us come to property quickly. The property in Montego Bay. He said it was last year. It wasn't last year. It was 23. Montego Bay Temple is a small storefront temple, overgrown. It can hold maybe 60 odd people. It's a 15 by 45 it was. There were maybe about 100 and odd people there. They were sitting on the corridor. They were on the steps. I was afraid to go to Montego Bay to see the people line out on the steps and on the corridor. So it's hard to get places there and they're very expensive. So one brother called me one day and said, listen, there's a Jehovah's Witness temple being sold and all of that, and he have a contact and a link. And I said, all right, whoa. So I went to Montego Bay to preach that Sunday. I told the people about it. Hey, pray about this. We think we have a lead. Pray about this sincerely. I didn't want to give them too much detail. So when I went there now, about 5 or 6 car load of us go to the temple. They were so elated about it and said, wow, my minister, we need this. I said, pray about it. The money that they were selling it for we had the money here in Jamaica, thank God. So I said, okay, we can do this quickly. Remember now, I have a power of attorney from Pastor Jennings to purchase properties, lands, vehicles, and all of that. He said that he told me not to do anything unless I talk to him about it. He did not say that. I have been doing everything with that power of attorney, doing things for the church for years uninterrupted. He didn't care what I do. So, with my power of attorney, and I have the money here, I said, okay. And the people said, other people want it and all of that, but if we are serious, they will let us have it. I said, my God, this is a gem. So, we started the process, paid down the deposit, and it was moving so fast. So we paid the total sum. It was maybe about 2 weeks before convocation. So I said, okay. I was so happy about it, I'm saying, I'm going to surprise Pastor. So when I went to convocation in the minister's meeting, I given my report. I said, sir, we're in the process of purchasing a property in Montego Bay, Jehovah's Witness Temple. He said, how much it costs? How much is the down payment? I said, it costs such and such, but we pay the full amount already. He said, you have all of that money there? I said, yes, sir. He said, oh, good. Minister went in that meeting, said to me after I spoke, he said, next time, let him know before. I said, Brother Wint, I've been doing this for years. I have power of attorney. So what's the big deal? He said, well, brothers in here might think they can just do whatever. And I was kind of concerned. I said, but we don't know the authority that I have. Anyways, the Monday when I came home, Pastor Dennis called me and said, listen, next time you're doing that type of transaction, let me know before you sign off on anything, because I would like my real estate secretary or whoever to go over the documents and all of that. I said, okay, sir, no problem. Sorry about that, but it was moving fast, so that's why I do it. We are done with that in 2023. To the point, I said, because that was about July, August. So I told the people, we want the temple to be dedicated in October when the convocation is being held. We want to move in it. But so when Pastor come, I'm going to ask him to go and dedicate the temple, and then you move in it the next week. I told him about it. He said, okay, let Ron know about it so it can be announced and all of that. He got stroke, so he didn't get to come. Taj came in his absence. I asked him, I said, okay, how is the dedication going to go? Because, I mean, I'm here as the overseer for the Caribbean, so I'm saying. But I'm not taking anything for granted. I said, how is the dedication going to go? He said, let Taj do it. So me, Taj, and Brother Wint went to the temple, dedicated it. 2023. So I spoke to him in the minister's meeting. He knew about the temple that was purchased. He just didn't know when I signed off, but when it was in process, because we didn't even have the title yet when I was in the meeting, he knew. And many ministers called me and said, well, some ministers called me and said, hey, how could Pastor say he didn't know about it? You said it in the minister's meeting. So this is what we are faced with. The same thing I put in my letter, untruths, deception. These are the things that I could not stand in the pulpit and say, thank God for the man of God, my leader, when the man is just so deceiving and lying. I couldn't do it. So, coming down to the recent thing that he said about the machine shop and farmlands. All right? We were purchasing a machine shop when Pastor was announced that he had the second part of his vision. He was doing barber shop and other stuff. He called a meeting with the ministers on Zoom, and he was talking to us about what he planned, what he's thinking of barber shops and this and that and that. I remember Minister Wint was very vocal in that meeting, talking about what he see and what can be done. And another elder was talking in that meeting. I told him in that meeting, I said, sir, we are in the process of purchasing a machine shop. He said, what is that? I explained to him we're dealing with engine and rotors and all of that and that sort of stuff. So I said, I'm planning to put it on a brother's, at a brother's garage. He has a building there. We're going to fix it up and put it there. Pastor said, no. Get a land lease and get a land lease and put it on there, because you don't want it on people property. Next thing, anything happen and all of that. That is why the machine shop, the things have not moved from the machine shop almost 2 years now, because we haven't had gotten a land to lease to set it up. Pastor Jennings told me to get land to lease to set up the machine shop. And Pastor Jennings tell the people that he didn't know anything about the machine shop. Again, another minister called me and said, I remember you tell him about the machine shop. Lie. Now, we talk about farmlands. We've been doing farming here for a long time. The church got lands to lease, 2 pieces of land, St. Elizabeth and Trelawney. The land in St. Elizabeth here, to this date, we haven't paid any money for the lease. Because the people give us the land and they don't have water and fencing, so they just let the people use the land. The lands were not purchased. These lands were leased, the brotherhood farming on the land. We had an agricultural meeting when he's talking about his vision again, talking about the agricultural land, and I think in Georgia, the land that he have, and clearing the land and all of that. Me and my wife was in the meeting. I stood up and I said, sir, we are doing farming, we're planting sorrel and all of that in Jamaica. How many acres we have on all of that? And Pastor Jennings said he had never heard about any farming land. So, I'm just saying this to let you all know where we're at. So you can be clear in your mind. Because these things that are out there, it's sad. It is sad. And it is believable because it's coming from the leader. It's believable. But they are lies. So the whole intention is to defame me because I told him I'm leaving. And he know the pulling power that we have. He know that we can hold a crowd. So his aim, just like he did to Brother Wint, his aim is to kill our name so that nobody listens to us. It is so sad. But he did confess the other day that the purpose for him sitting me down was because I did not speak against Minister Wint. Huh? That's what he said the other day. The brother has never spoken against Minister Wint. How could I speak against somebody when I realize that what you're saying about them is not true? I'm not a puppet. I'm a man of God. And I'm striving to do God's will. So, my brothers and sisters, I just thought it was fitting to let you who are following know that your brother is not guilty of these charges. We are suffering because of the anointing that God placed on us. You know, it's not easy, but we are going through. I'm not telling anybody that I'm perfect, but I strive to do the will of God. And I'm suffering, even many other things, because I help people, and I believe the church should help people. So, just for you, this is the reason, and those are the things. This is my response to those things that are out there. Continue to pray. God will see us through.